Hi, this is Pat Moorhead with More Insights and Strategy, and we are here for another Hot Desk podcast, episode 3. I'm here with Melody Brue, VP and Principal Analyst for Modern Work. How are you doing?
Good. How are you doing, Pat?
Good, good.
Have you recovered from the 6-5 summit?
I have, but the 7 out of 8 um, weeks that I've been on the road have been a little bit tough, I will admit. So
That's a lot.
it is, it is part of kind of the analyst way. But, I feel like we still are playing catch up for the pandemic, right? Where
Mm.
you have companies or people who feel like, hey, we didn't meet for 2.5 years or 3 years. Let's get together a lot this year. But
Yeah,
it's part
I
of the,
know.
yeah.
I feel like so many people say like, "Oh, it's so good to be back in person this year for the first time," but then we hear that a lot. And speaking of being back in person, that's our first thing. You were just at Cisco Live, one of the many places you've been lately.
Exactly. So, hey, if you're new to the show, I can't razz you because we're only in episode 3, but we talk about the tools, trends, trajectories for the next normal and modern work, and that's what we talk about here, and we're really excited about it. But I have to have a disclaimer here, because we do talk about publicly traded companies. The show is for information, entertainment purposes only. Contents of the show should not be taken in investment advice. In fact, just do the opposite. If you looked at my portfolio, you would do that. So we have a great show for you. We're going to be talking about Cisco Live 2023, some new things that HP announced at InfoComm 2023. Avaya had some C-suite changes, and then we're going to be talking about hot or not, the 4-day work week. So let's jump into Cisco Live 2023. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to call my own number here. I was at the event, and while I was relying on you, as you're going to talk in a few minutes about the goodness of everything that Webex brought to the table, but overall, the overall themes that I saw is how is Cisco helping customers in the hybrid multi-cloud? And they have cross cloud services like security, networking, and also observability. So I thought that was a pretty good showing, because regardless of where companies are running their workloads, Cisco's able to monetize it, and at a clip of about 70%, 60% gross margin, which is pretty awesome. But of course, on day 2, they talked a lot about Webex, and not all just the UCAS part, but also the CCAS part. And I'll hand the baton to you.
Yeah. I mean, first I just have to ask Pat, like, is it hard for you sometimes to not say "I told you so"? Because ever since I've known you, I hear you say, like, it's gonna be multi-cloud, or I hear you say it's gonna be on-device AI. I hear you say these things, and then like 2 months later, everybody's, oh, this is the next trend, and I'm like, what Pat's been saying for the last couple of months. Is
Listen,
it
I am
tough?
not shy about doing victory laps, and like I tell people, I don't get everything right, but of course I don't, point out when I have it. But sometimes I do point it out where I got it wrong. I got it wrong on OpenStack, right? But from early on, it just was apparent that it's a hybrid multi-cloud world, and um, based on nothing more than this is what enterprise customers want, and companies like HPE, Dell, and IBM are just not going to go off and die, right?
Yeah.
They're going to react. They're going to respond.
Hmm. Yeah. I think, I appreciate that you can do the victory lap, but also, call it out when maybe you didn't get it right. And actually, I think AI is one of those things where you were like, is this really going to catch on? But then,
Yeah.
when we saw that it's not just Chat GPT, it's a lot more than that. And this is what we saw with WebEx and Cisco, both on their contact center and all of their, they had the Catch Me Up meeting summary. Basically, it was all, not all, I should say, but a lot of AI summary capabilities. And this is the Catch Me Up meeting recaps. This is conversation summaries. My favorite thing is the vidcast summaries. So vidcast is just their video messaging service. And if they can do it for vidcast, they can do it for, any meetings, obviously, to summarize meetings. To me, rewatching a meeting that has already happened is kind of torture. And I really want something. And, I mean, you and I are very often double, triple booked. And sometimes it's just necessary to watch something that has been a meeting that's already happened. But sometimes that's an hour-long meeting. And it's
Yeah.
like, and if it's a briefing that covers many different verticals, I want to get to the modern work vertical. You may want to get straight to cloud or security or something else. Tell me where that is. Get me to that place. It's just like this trend where everybody's using subtitles to watch television. It's because we want to focus on what we want to focus on. So I think these AI summaries that Webex has introduced is so helpful, especially for video, where you can summarize where it is, and that helps you go to that spot in the video. They're not saying skip the video. It helps you to go to that spot in the video and concentrate on what you need to concentrate on. And then another thing I think is really important is the contact center conversation summaries. You had a great tweet about this, about how the process just sucks. When you call somebody, the like decision-making trees are bad. All of the steps that you have to get to resolution in a contact center are not great very often, and so
Horrible. I mean, let's
when
just admit it. It's a terrible experience.
it's
It really
terrible.
is. It's been terrible since phone trees were invented, I think 30 years ago,
Yes,
you
and
know?
so and the worst thing is when you finally get to somebody who has an answer for you, and then you get disconnected.
Yeah.
Well, with these contact center conversation summaries, it doesn't matter. You get disconnected. The next person has all of the information, the full summary of what has happened, and all you need to do is give them your phone number or whatever, whatever your identifying information is, and you pick up where you left off. So I think it saves a lot of frustration for both the caller and for the contact center employee. Imagine the frustration that is sort of unleashed on those employees when somebody has to repeat themselves.
Yeah.
So I really think that's a really needed thing. But so yeah, I think they had a lot of really great announcements, and I think we're just going to continue to see more of these types of things where you can just insert the AI to help people do their jobs better.
I think
And
generative AI is going to bring nirvana to the contact center. Let's just say, for argument's sake, there's 10 steps of the process to get where you need to go. And I think technology's done an okay job, maybe getting us to step 3. And
mhm.
then what we've done with chatbots and with telephone trees is we end up sending it to a human, right? And that's why chatbot to human services like we've seen with Contact Center, Five9, and in Zoho are popular. But what that says, though, is the tech just isn't very good.
Right.
I think, just for argument's sake, if we're, we can hit 3 out of 10 with tech today. I think 7 out of 10 with generative AI is very doable, and it really was what chatbots should always have been in the first place. Okay, you're going to have escalations, right? That's why I'm not a 10 out of 10, but again, a very unscientific 7 out of 10. But going 4 places in 2 decades and doing it in one, I think is pretty good. And I'm interested to see where Cisco takes this. And again, I think customers want this on-prem and they want this in the cloud. I know Five9 will be cloud only, and Cisco will be hybrid multi-cloud. And we'll see if Cisco can hit that innovation point on-prem. So let's move to the next topic. Big show, InfoComm 2023, new HP Poly devices. What did we see there, Mel?
So let's talk about some more AI. They have some on-device, like you called out was going to happen, some on-device AI. They introduced 2 new products. One is the Poly Studio X52 all-in-one video bar, and that's really for kind of their mid-size conference rooms. And then they also introduced a new headset. which is called the Poly Voyager. I just combined those two. Poly Voyager Surround 80 UC.
Wow, that
And
just
that,
rolls right off the tongue,
right,
doesn't it?
I know some of these they're hard to get out. Um, They also introduced an update to their operating system, and the software release has like the director AI to keep people focused, keep the camera focused. Really, all these are designed for hybrid work. So when you've got people who are at home and then you've got people in the conference room, everybody, the director, the AI director, focuses on the person who's talking. So each person is seen, even if they're in the corner of a room, no matter who's talking. What it also does is they have some technology that has detected glass walls and able to detect whether somebody is in or outside of the glass wall. So it's not picking up on people walking by, like somebody who just walked by behind me, although I'm not in a glass wall. And allows the meeting organizer to kind of put this perimeter around. So from a sound perspective, it eliminates like the echo and the kind of noise reduction that you would normally get in glass conference rooms. But then also gives you that sort of, it creates kind of a wall where there is glass, to make these meeting spaces, one, more equitable for the people who are not in the room, but also just the sound better and everything for the people who are in the room. They have all kinds of these bars. I know you've reviewed several of them before. I mean, they do a great job with sound. I haven't seen this one yet, but at what was that? Gosh, in Orlando, I saw a bunch of them. I mean, they really do. Their sound is really just kind of top notch, I think. And I did get a demo of these online demo. And the way that the camera switches from one person to another while they're talking without somebody fumbling around and making the switch of like, oh, he's talking, she's talking. It just picks up on the person's voice. The camera's focused there, and it doesn't have where people are looking at the person like this, but they're not on the camera. It doesn't have that awkwardness of where people are looking, and it just makes you feel like you're in a room having a conversation with people. So it's really meant for hybrid work, but they really have, infused this AI into it to make it easier for people to use and make it seamless. So
Yeah,
some
the
interesting
company's
things.
been Poly's been working on this for a long time, and the audio for even longer. Um,
Mhm.
but I can't imagine having a good hybrid work experience across the enterprise without being able to do face separation. I
Mhm.
mean, to me, one of the biggest ways to, I mean, remote, all remote, if you think about it, was a little easier because everybody was on a notebook PC. Now, I'm not saying easier; I just mean easier to pull off.
Right.
One person got a cube, right? Sorry, a square on the
Yeah.
screen,
Yeah.
and I'm surprised how many companies haven't upgraded their um, their room equipment to technologies like that. I think they will. I think they'll
Mhm.
realize that it's an investment if they want people to come into the office and have a good hybrid work experience. I think some might be saying, hey, if I upgrade my video equipment in the rooms, that's going to motivate more. If I don't do that, it's going to motivate people to come in to the office. I think it's going to have the opposite effect. It's just going to
Yeah.
piss everybody off and lower their productivity.
Yeah. I
So
think
hey,
you're right on
there
that.
were some C-suite changes at Avaya.
Yes.
Big announcement that came out at I think maybe one of their shows. I don't know.
They're going into a show. So next week they have their big user conference Engage, and as you know, they're coming out of a restructuring that happened in May. They have around that time, I think, well, actually about a year ago, they got a new CEO during that restructuring. And so they just hired a CFO, a chief product officer, and a CMO. So they brought on some heavy hitters. Um, I actually spoke with Alan Masrick, who's pictured there, who's the
Who
CEO,
you?
who all of these people will be reporting to. And he said this is a pretty strong statement coming out of restructuring. He said there is not a company in their space that he would trade balance sheets with. And I think, that's a pretty strong statement that the company they're strong. They have some announcements coming out at Engage that they'll be making. They're making some moves. That they've admittedly made some mistakes on just not moving their roadmap fast enough, but they've brought on some strong people. And you say this a lot, Pat. Like, really, you can tell the strength of a company by their leadership. And Alan is clearly a strong leader, and he's brought in some really strong co-leaders now. And so I'm really excited to see what this company does.
Are you attending the event?
I am not going to be there in person. I'll be doing some virtual. It is in Orlando, and I think they have like 3,000 something more, but all users that will be there. Jose Andres, the chef, is going to be there, so I kind of wish I was going to be there.
Wow, how about that?
I know, isn't that cool? So yeah, scheduling just didn't work out, but I will be attending some things, and yeah, I'm just excited to see where this goes. I mean, they have a really long history. If you just look at it on paper, they've had two restructurings in the last 5-6 years. So some reputational work to do, but they're doing the work, and it's it'll be a good one to see. I think they're a leader in the space. Those kinds of mistakes, when you look at from a pure financial perspective, like that's painful. But if you look at it from a product standpoint, if you can separate those two, which you can't really in theory, but if you look at it from a product standpoint and happy customers and versus happy investors, those are two different stories. They now need to merge those two stories.
Interesting. Yeah, senior management and understanding the quality of them is a huge part of my research methodology. It's not everybody's. Some people, I look at the products, I look at the core value proposition and how differentiated it is, how they treat their customers and do their R&D. But yeah, I get a pretty good sense out of that. So, hey, let's move into, I think it's my favorite part of the show, hot or not, the 4-day work week. What the heck is going on here, Mel?
Okay, well, I'm sure you've heard a lot about this. Like, I think in Canada, they did this big study that said, people want to have a 4-day work week. I've heard from a lot of friends that their companies are offering at least one 4-day work week a week or a month. Some research from Goldman Sachs says that like 25% of tasks in the workplace today could be automated by AI. So now this Jefferies, the investment bank, some ESG strategists from Jefferies came out and said, okay, well, those gains could translate into shorter work weeks. So AI could make people more efficient. It could actually lead to a broader acceptance of 4-day work weeks.
I'm not buying any.
Me neither. Okay, me neither. So the whole thing is like, so until like the 1930s, a work week was 6 weeks, or work week was 6 days long.
Yeah.
Now it's 5. So their argument here is basically like, it can happen, it's just it's a mind shift. It's all of this. I just don't buy it because I actually think that there are some jobs that maybe that could happen, but certainly not in like a service or, certainly not what we do. The work is never done. I don't think it's possible, and I don't think many people would actually really be happy. I don't know, maybe I'm crazy, but I don't really buy it.
I think it's important to look at how employers make their decisions on how many people they get, which is how much work can we get done. I think in times of recession, you have people going to 4-day. It's called furloughing, right? And by the way, they pay you for 4 out of 5 days, not for 5 days work. Yeah, I think this is kind of absurd notion. And by the way, there are countries who have tried this that realized, hey, our productivity sank,
Mhm.
and we're not going to go in this direction. So I don't know. Maybe it's my age. I don't know. Maybe it's my
Yeah.
gray hairs. But if I look at the totality, I mean, we did have 7 days when we were all agrarian. It was 7 days a week.
Mhm.
And then as jobs moved into the city and we came into the industrial age, it was 6 days a week. And then actually the unions helped getting it from 7 to 6 and then to 5 days a week. But I just can't imagine why we would do this if there wasn't a requirement, right? I think if we go into a deep recession, it'll be called a furlough, but people are going to be surprised that, hey, oh my gosh, you're only going to work 4 days. You're only going to get paid for 4 days
Yeah.
of work, right?
I mean, I really think that at what point do you become replaceable if your job can be done in such a short amount of time? Like if AI can replace 25% of your tasks, aren't shouldn't that time be actually spent on kind of more high level thinking, like the more high value work? Let the AI replace the mundane stuff and let people concentrate on the higher value stuff. But I think if you're if you're replaceable by AI, you might just be replaceable. If you're replaceable one day a week, why aren't you replaceable?
Yeah, it's the way I think it's going to end up is you just end up laying people off. You get less people. I appreciate Arvind Krishna being possibly the only honest Fortune 500 CEO to say, yeah, our human resource spot now correctly answers 40% of all HR questions, right?
Yeah.
And we're going to be laying off 20% of our back office. That's the way
Mhm.
that this is going to go down. Good
Yeah.
conversation, something to ponder. Maybe I'm off on this. We'll see. But I'll be doing the victory lap in 10 years if it never happens. So we'll be
Well,
going back
we
to
should.
this
I'll keep track somewhere. I'll have a little hot or not
ticker.
scoreboard.
So hey, what's coming up, Mel? What are you up to?
Well, I've got a big trip coming up. I am going to Oslo. I'm going to be meeting with the Cisco team there, getting a device tour, and apparently, to some Norwegian culture.
Cool.
Actually, my first international trip since the end of COVID, so I'm excited.
Wow, that is
Yeah,
exciting. So
doing that
exciting.
in a few days, and yeah, it just feels like things are, always moving. How about you? What do you got going on?
So been on the road 7 out of 8 weeks, and actually no, I'm sorry, 7 out of 9 weeks. So I'm really excited. I've got one more trip, I think this month coming out. Next week, I'm going to be at HPE Discover, and then I'm
Mm,
going to be going to Mongo DB to go to their annual big event in New York City. Back for a couple
nice.
weeks, but then I'm off to .conf at Splunk, the observability and data company. And then I'm off to Korea for a week. Then I'm off to Seattle for a half a week. So yeah, it really kicks up, and VMware Explorer is coming up. Google Cloud Next is coming up. So yeah, it's kind of a 3 week respite before the next
Get
crazy comes in here. But it's good
a
stuff.
little rest.
Beats having a real job.
Yeah. I do actually have, the Samsara event, analyst event in Austin, and, Bill Curtis will be there with me too.
It's exciting. I like what they do at Samsara. Just when you think you've exceeded the maximum capability of a SaaS play, companies like Samsara come up. Tell them I said hi. Maybe I'll stop
Will
by.
do. Yeah.
That's good stuff. So, hey, I want to thank everybody for tuning in to episode 3, chatting about Cisco, HP, Avaya, the 4 day work week. Why not the 1 day work? Why not the 0 day work week? here. But thanks for tuning in. Give us our comments. You can find me at Patrick Moorhead on Twitter, and you can find Mel at Melody Brue. Boy, I'm glad I got my name early on Twitter, right? Because there are other Patrick Moorheads out there.
I don't think there's another Melody Brue, but maybe.
It's very unique. Anyways, thanks for tuning in, and have a great weekend. And Mel, good luck. Actually, I think baseball is over, and now it's the drive home.
Baseball is done for the week. Yeah, it was a long week of baseball, but it's done, and now I get to rest for the weekend. Well, actually,
Excellent.
go home. Yeah.
Thanks for tuning in.